For many of the different majors, are there any business majors in here? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Business typically has the majority of representatives here. Business is one of our largest schools, and if I'm not mistaken, one of your senators are here. They are an FYE ambassador, and they are here to better serve you. Carrie Taylor, I'm not sure if she's in audience. Yes, she is. So she's right at the back waving. So all of you business majors, that is your co-senator there. You can meet up with her, as well as all of the other senators there. Any nursing majors in here? Excellent. That is what I love to hear. So I am here to represent you. The other co-senator for the School of Nursing is not here. But for all the other majors, culinary majors, math majors, social science majors, you all have co-senators or senators that are here as advocates for you. We are the ones that fight on your behalf to ensure that you are being treated justly and appropriately while you study to become certified. We, along with the FYE ambassadors, assist with your registration issues, getting into classes, as well as we even help with overcoming challenges in courses and resolving issues with different classes and lectures. We don't do too much with the fighting with lectures because we are still students as well, but we try to get you where you need to be as best as we possibly can as students as well. In addition to that, we also plan events and parties along with other departments around the school within specific majors, and sometimes even all together, that will help you to get that out of classroom university experience that you've all heard about. Now, as for the executive branch, you have positions from the president, President Matthew Williams, who is sitting amongst you all to get familiar with each and every one of you, who is standing right there, all the way down to the Director of Public Relations. The executive branch of the SGA is there to ensure that the senators are well funded, events are in line and can be carried out to best suit you, as well as to ensure that all policies are adhered to, not only by the students, but also faculty, to bring about transparency and a smooth way through life at university. Now, we all know that getting an education is important, but we believe strongly in students receiving a recreational balance at UB so you all do not become zombies to your studies. In fact, this year, the SGA legislative and executive branches, from the presidents down to the co-senators, unanimously stand on the platform for mental health this semester, because mental health is very important. So, you will see from time to time us sharing seminars, events, and parties that we encourage you to attend, as well as visiting the counseling departments to seek assistance and maintain that work-fun balance that is needed for each and every one of us to be the most effective student that we can be. Overall, we, the SGA, are here to assist you during your time here at UB, and we want nothing more than to see each and every one of you succeed and graduate from here certified and degreed. Can I get a round of applause for that? If you need any assistance, want to reach out to your senators, or want to learn more about SGA, you can see me, President Matthew Williams, or one of the senators that you will get to meet around here today to share light to you on any questions or concerns you may have in regards to your majors or SGA itself. Thank you for your time in learning a little about SGA, and I wish each and every one of you success in all of your endeavors.
Thank you again, Ms. Dio, for the remarks and the SGA community on the whole. Right now, I will begin in welcoming our guest speaker, the Honorable Micheal C. Pintard. MP is the leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition and the Member of Parliament for Marco City. Mr. Pintard is a human resources development consultant, speaker, and writer who has lectured and performed both nationally and internationally. Mr. Pintard holds an Associate of Arts degree from the College of the Bahamas, where he was the spokesperson for the Union of Students, and a Bachelor of Science degree from Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama, where he was a university scholar and student government president. Mr. Pintard has completed several graduate courses in agriculture economics at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, and received the James Michener Scholarship to attend the Caribbean Summer Writers Institute at the University of Miami. Mr. Pintard has addressed conferences and forums nationally and internationally at the United Nations in New York and Vienna, UNESCO consultations in Paris, France, and Santiago, Chile. He has also produced a cassette tape of poetry with music and published a collection of poems entitled Still Standing. His collection is on the English literature syllabus for high school students. Mr. Pintard has also written Follow Your Dreams, Politics, and has also written and published Still Standing, Men Talk, and Not My Good Child. He has collaborated in writing and producing Election 2002, If You Don't Laugh, You'll Cry, Election 2007, Count It Again, Man, Count It Again, Woman Talk, and Election 2012, What Just Happened. 7 theatrical productions, which are arguably the longest running and most well-attended Bahamian productions ever. Mr. Pintard is a former consultant to the government of the Bahamas in ministries with responsibility for economic development, tourism, youth, sports, and culture. He is the former host of the radio talk show, The Way Forward, on GEMS 105.9 FM in the Bahamas. He was also the organizational development manager for the Grand Bahama Airport Company, Freeport Harbor Company, and for the Freeport Container Port. He has served as a consultant for several organizations, including VOPAC Terminal Bahamas, and the ministry responsible for the public service. Mr. Pintard is a former senator, appointed twice, and a former chairman of the Free National Movement. He is also the former Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, and Minister of Youth, Sports, and Culture. In November 2021, he was elected as the leader of the Free National Movement and was appointed leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition. Mr. Pintard is happily married and has a lovely daughter, and they reside in Freeport, Grand Bahama. Please now join me in giving Mr. Pintard, the Right Honorable Micheal C. Pintard, a Mingo welcome to the stage.
I'm not going to necessarily try the chant. I like my U in front of my B, M-I-N in front of my G, O-E. I love my Mingo's pride. It's good to be back here on campus. This stage is the first stage I was in a full-length production. It was called Struggle for Identity. I used to be a member of the Student Christian Movement, and like some of you, I backslidden 1, 2, maybe about 300 times. But on this stage, I had my orientation to the creative arts. And as a result of that experience, years later, I had the opportunity to collaborate with some of the most incredible Bahamian writers ever in producing theatrical productions that travel not just in the Bahamas, but throughout the Caribbean and, of course, in Florida. So UB, which was then COB, was one of those institutions that no matter where you ended up later, I went to Tuskegee, I went to McGill, you could not forget the impact of this institution in framing your worldview, how you saw yourself and ultimately the rest of the world. So I just wanted to begin by telling you just a couple of things about myself. I know you're far more interested in yourself, but let me just, humor me for a moment. So I came from an incredible high school. No, it's not sad. I went to AFI Senior High School, right? So before that I went to SC McPherson, and before that I went to, the school don't exist no more, William Phipps Primary School. So the Bali is on that side. I'm a Saxon. I'm not gonna claim that we were wrong. My family's off the chain. And so, but let me say this. I came to COB I entered college prep. I didn't have all my GCs. Y'all call them BGCSE now. Now, I want you all to know that I took the mock exam. Y'all still did mock exam in high school? I was awesome in the mock exam. I mashed up every one of those exams, but I failed the GCE. I personally believe they switched the curriculum with the exam. That had nothing to do with me and my ability. So in any event, I ended up in college prep. And you spend 1 year in college prep, you get the necessary requirements, and then you get into the first year of university. So in a sense, I came here with a bit of a self-esteem issue. I was from a single parent home. I have an incredible mother who, again, like you, a praying mother, keeps you standing. And so I came to COB with a bit of a chip on my shoulder. Because I was in classes when I finally made it to college level with students who had gotten 8 GCEs, in many cases with A's. I was catching the bus or walking to COB, and some of these kids were pulling up in cars, like some of you are. And so they were pulling up in cars. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I was trying to figure out if we had a car for our family, how does this student have a car for themselves? It was a problem. So I was in work study, I worked in the library, I worked in various places, and then of course one of my favorite jobs, I used to work in McDonald's. It was, any of y'all work in McDonald's now or plan to work in McDonald's? Okay, stay tuned, some of you will. So I was able to raise some serious change for university. I also worked as a security officer at Atlantis. It was then Britannia Beach. And so oftentimes I would walk if I worked the graveyard shift, but only 2 of us used to be awake on the graveyard shift. Most people were sleeping. A few in guest rooms as well, but that's a different story. So I'm just saying, but I worked security. And so I worked a variety of jobs when I was a student here. By the way, I studied agriculture. This was at a time where we used to have this little small agriculture plot not far from here. And we used to use chicken manure to create, strong soil that can grow crops. If you don't know anything about agriculture, manure don't smell good. And so when you come out of the plot, it used to be a joke on campus. Some people used to sing Father Brown, but they used to change and put your name in it as an agriculture student. But that wasn't the highlight of my time. I was also active in student government, university spokesperson, a senator as well. And we used to engage in social and political issues as students. One of those engagements resulted in me being arrested on Bay Street while protesting against the then government. And that was an interesting experience. I'll tell you the serious part of it later, but we used to have lots of discussion, not under the tree. Under the tree was for other purposes, but we used to have real discussions about changing the country. And I remember before I got arrested, it was many of us. We were talking about our commitment to change, how we need to usher in a new dispensation in the Bahamas. And people were animated and vibrant. And we got ready to go downtown. And let's say there were 20 people originally, let's say 20. By the time we got ready to go downtown, there's about 50. By the time we got downtown, there's about 9. By the time we got in the center of Bay Street to call for the resignation of the then Prime Minister, it was 3. By the time the police arrived, and they were giving me a veggie, taking me to prison, it was me. But the truth is, our students were engaged. They actually believed that it was important to advocate for the transformation of the university, then college itself. They had a view that they ought to be a part of the decision-making body, that they should sit on the board. And every major committee at the university ought to include student representation. They believe that they should have an opinion about the Ministry of Education and how it should shape the curriculum and how it should interact with young Bahamians. They had a view on immigration. They had a view on economic development. And think about this. We were then a 2-year institution, meaning that they had a very short time, and as those who were against their children or young people engaged in activism would say, you only have 2 years, you're going to get your degree, and then keep it moving. But in that 2 years, we had students who were so socially and politically conscious that they were prepared to make personal sacrifices for a universal solution in our country. You're a 4-year institution. And so as young people say, I won't dwell on this long. They say less, but I think you understand what we are up against. So my time here was incredible. I had an opportunity to interact with some amazing young men and women. Some of them are now not just leaders in the Bahamas, but they are running companies that have global significance. Some of them have emerged as leaders in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Some of them lead the most powerful faith-based organizations, leaders in civil society, leaders in the creative arts community. So the truth is, as I speak with you this morning, I'm suggesting to you that you are standing on the shoulders of some amazing Bahamians, some of whom have emerged as regional and world changers, and whose worldview and sense of self-concept was formed where you are. So the truth is, as you look to your left or to your right, you have no idea who you're sitting next to. And they have no idea what God has birthed in you. And so for me, over time, it became irrelevant that I was from a single-parent home. That we were so broke it was hard to pay attention. It became irrelevant that I was catching the bus or I was walking here. My wife cracks a joke with me. She said, you really have too many shoes. I regret that you had to go through the experience that you had only 2 shoes for a very long period of time. It became irrelevant over time that I was not moneyed, pedigreed, and not yet degreed. Because at the end of the day, all of us get to write our own story. Some of the kids I was going to school with at the time was born into privilege. And I don't envy them, because every parent should leave an inheritance for their children. The question was, what was I going to do? How would I have organized my life to make sure that my children's experience are in some ways fundamentally different than mine? And so as I look back with a sense of pride. I know that generally in tertiary institutions, 80% of those persons who enter and graduate are females and 20% or less are males. The truth is, all of you are a minority in terms of persons who end up in university. But the truth is, those that graduate is an even smaller number. So you have to appreciate that you, in a sense, you are a rare breed in the general scheme of things. The rare breed gives you some responsibility. To whom much is given, much is required. Because the question is, you are presently receiving financial benefit from companies and from the government of the Bahamas. Ask yourself, for your friends who didn't make it to university, what is the equivalent dollar value in any program to benefit that category of Bahamians? So you have some benefits that are not accrued to other Bahamians. So you have a responsibility while here to distinguish yourself. Because the truth is, you are benefiting from the collective contribution of a whole lot of other people who either didn't have the wisdom or the interest or other factors determine why they are not here. And for the males that are here, even more so, you have a tremendous responsibility to stay the course. Let me quickly say that I'm speaking to you at a time where we are battling two things, two major categories of circumstances. Before you are some incredible challenges that this country faces on one hand, And on the other hand, there are some incredible opportunities waiting for you to seize. I won't belabor either categories this morning, but let me just quickly say that one of the challenges that we face is that you are born into a country and you now live in 2023 where no mother who was lying down to give birth to her child anticipated that she would be giving birth to a murderer or a victim of murder, a rapist or a victim of rape, a robber or a victim of robbery, but that is an ever-present reality. And whether you're in opposition or you're in government, you tell a different tale about what I believe, no matter where you are, is a crisis. The question is, are we equipped to handle it? I believe we have the necessary gray matter, resources, and if we would use it, networks to tackle this crisis. We're not. The question is for you, what role are you playing and how will you prepare yourself over the course of the next 4 years to meet that crisis? We have a crisis in immigration, unregulated movement of people across borders who can very much shift the very nature of the country. To what extent are you planning to be engaged in the discussion to, one, protect the sovereignty of the Bahamas, but two, to do it in a way that you do not promote xenophobia and hatred of other people who are also fighting for survival? How do we balance it? How do we organize immigration policies and enforcement so that others that wish a better way of life, we can determine how they come in, whether they come in blue collar or white collar, and they fit into the structure of our country and serve on the terms we define and leave at the point that we agree. So that we don't have to engage in pandering to the mob that calls for expelling people by any means necessary, even if it means damaging their lives. We're smarter than that. We're more sophisticated than that. We're far more creative than that. We have a crisis. We have a crisis in terms of ownership. In fact, tourism and financial services are the two dominant areas that generate wealth and employment in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and the people who substantially own these two pillars of our economy are so small in number that you are able to pack them up on a plane and fly them out of the Bahamas. That's how small the group is that control the economic levers of this country. So while politicians are busy talking about employment, your generation is on a different run. You're talking about ownership. Ownership of land that's controlled in a prime minister's office, a decision made really by such a small group of people. It's a crisis. And so you have an opportunity to do what the generation before me, who contributed a lot, and my generation has contributed a lot. There are some things we have not accomplished. That as you sit in orientation, this is about you determining how you will prepare yourself to deal with these kinds of issues. So that when we go to the tables of the world, we're not going with a cap out looking merely for donations, but we are going there with much of what we need in here and in here as equal partners at global tables, making the case for us to be embraced and for our space to be reserved because we deserve it. Your generation have an incredible opportunity. This orientation is not just about you appreciating all the wonderful things this institution can offer, but it's also about determining what mindset, what heart set you are going to have that will guide you as you move through these corridors over the course of the next few years. And then, of course, on the other side of the equation, there are opportunities. Opportunities for you to be incredible entrepreneurs. If you're going to spend a ton of time on your computer, wouldn't it make more sense in between the one or two TikTok, in between listening to, I don't know who you listen to, Pop Smoke, Lil Baby, Dub Baby, the not so pretty, but let me forget, the babies in its different forms. In between all that you listen to, I mean, I hear it said Burna Boy. That's one thing. Somebody say Scarface, or you don't know Scarface. Who's it that you all know? Sorry, I saw somebody in the back. You said, but Dior, that's possible too. Okay, I see. So the bottom line is, in between all that you do on your computer, you can become entrepreneurs creating multi-million, multi-billion enterprises, as opposed to looking up people looking to get your goods and services in the international market so people can appreciate that we are as brilliant as anyone else, anywhere else in the world. I live in Grand Bahama. And it's disheartening sometimes to walk into the bank and you look at long lines, and often those who work for the shipyard, in some cases other major companies, they are there to repatriate money to their country of birth. So here's some folks who've traveled from halfway around the world to the country of your birth to realize not only their dreams, but dreams for their children and their grandchildren not yet born. And not far away in the couches in Royal Bank or Scotiabank are some of our relatives who are sitting down waiting on an opportunity to go to the loan officer to borrow money. In some cases, it's not just for their house. And for others, they're sitting in the couches trying to negotiate saving the home that's been in the family for a long period of time. The question is, which line should we be on? So as you go through orientation, I ask you to, yes, consider all the fun things. You have to enjoy the ride. You have to make this time count. The bottom line is, it's not always just about the destination. It is also about the journey. Because the truth is, some folks may not make it to the ultimate destination. But the question is, would you have had a proper quality of life on the drive? You know, let me put it this way. For some of the lecturers who are here, now most of them, they park in donkey, they doing well, right? But for some, let's say some who are struggling, sometimes when you pay your mortgage the first of the month, people start panicking about how they're going to pay it next month. Now you have a whole 30 days to enjoy your premises. Already you fretting about what's going to happen at the end of the month. And if you're renting, some people like that too. I'm suggesting that while you are at UB, enjoy yourself. We're not talking about drinking some Hennessy. We're not talking about getting stoned, smoking a blunt, drinking stitchy. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about seeing somebody that you like and then your eyes so big, everybody you like. But no, we're not talking about that. I ain't talking about that. I'm just saying, enjoy the journey. Build powerful network of friends. There are some folks who we are doing business with right now, who we are doing politics with, who we are doing life with, who we met when we were at COB. And so we decided that there was a quality of life we wanted for ourselves, but more importantly, there was a kind of country we wanted to build. And the discussions began right here, in the library, under the tree, in the foyer. So you have an opportunity to look around and decide, who will you build a tech company with? Who will you join with in forming a construction company that's engaged in climate smart construction, since we live in a hurricane alley? You look at the network to figure out who are the other persons who you'll form a faith-based organization with that will cater to the whole man and woman. You're sitting next to some folks who will create a new vision for the Bahamas, where we appreciate that men and women deserve same opportunities, right to pass on citizenship to children. That two people, despite their best efforts to be together, when they decide this one can't wait or unless somebody getting buried, that they have a no-clause divorce, they can move on from each other. The bottom line is, the people who are sitting next to you are able to usher in some changes that we have not yet done as a country. And so you have a marvelous opportunity. So as I take my seat, just a couple of quick suggestions. Decide that you're going to work hard and smart. 4 years is a short time. And the outcome of your life in large measure will be determined by the types of habits you form. And so at the UB, form some good habits. You know, like learning how to wake up early, pray up, show up, stay late if necessary, being able to delay gratification because you're going to have plenty of that later on. You know, most people who get the joys, the cookies now, many times are begging for cookies later. And so it's important for you to be able to delay gratification, to spend some time when some folks want to go and party, that you are able to buckle down. I went to Tuskegee as well, and one of the sayings we had is that while we are on the yard partying, those kids at Auburn, often of a different hue, are busy studying. But if we make the sacrifice, all the haters on the sideline wondering why you're doing what you do are likely to be employed by you. And then their children and their children's children. The bottom line is, use this time to find out what you want to do. The career that you're going into should not be chosen by mommy, daddy, or any teacher, no matter how much you love them and admire them. Find your own passion. And then, of course, make your passion pay your bills.